PR Connections Radio presents this episode of the PR Connections podcast is brought to you by Classy Communications PR and Advertising. Classy Communications provides public relations and marketing solutions for businesses, professionals, and nonprofit organizations. They can deliver the true meaning of your business with press releases, social media marketing, web development, email marketing, book publishing, and much more. Wherever your potential clients are, they can help you connect with them. Visit classycommunications.net to learn more about their suite of services that can help your business stand out from the rest. Classy Communications is your solution for business success.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the PR Connections radio show. My name is Guy Dawson, and I am your host, and I am beyond thrilled and excited, and I know I say that whenever I do these podcasts. However, there are times when you do a show and there is special meaning to the show. And for me, having my good friend Arlette Yousif with Naked Beauty Electrolysis, this is a special interview because I've known her for many years and we are good friends. And welcome to the PR Connections show, Arlette.
Thank you, Guy. I'm so glad to be here. And yeah, I mean, we go way back, but I haven't seen you in so long. So I'm really excited to be able to chat with you.
Yes, Arlette and I met when she was still a student at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. I actually did some mentoring with her, and I could see so much potential. And one of the great things, Arlette, when you get the opportunity to be a mentor or you work with people in internships, is the maintenance of these relationships beyond the time when you're mentoring the person or they're an intern with your company. For us to have been able to maintain this relationship, and you've just gone on to do so many wonderful things. I know I talked to you about this when we have these conversations, but it makes you feel like and I know I'm not old enough to be your dad, but it does. It kind of makes you feel like a proud papa when you see someone that you work with go on. And now that you're embarking on this entrepreneurial endeavor, Arlette, I just cannot tell you how proud I am of your growth through all these years.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Like coming from you, as you said, you've been my mentor for so long. So like coming from you, it really means a lot. I mean, you saw me, juggling assignments and projects in college and trying to do all kinds of things to like just coming to like a center place. And, with your guidance and just that rapport that we had and just you even believing me like that goes so far. And so while I am doing something now that I was not going to UNLV for, it all matters. It's all relatable and it's all life experience. And so like, I'm glad that I learned so much from you for one, and for two, I'm just thankful for this, great friendship that we continue to have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really all about relationships as we go through life, trying to cultivate as many, I feel, constructive relationships where both sides feel fulfilled through the connection, right? And again, Arlette, just having known you as a college student and how, like I said, I was very impressed with your vision of what you wanted to do, your ambition for what you wanted to do, and to actually see you do the work, to take the steps and to cultivate this excellent career again. And again, now you're moving in a different direction, but yes, I think we should celebrate the people who are out there trying to make it happen in life. And you are certainly one of those people.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me.
And so you didn't go to college to be an entrepreneur, actually, Arlette. Maybe you could share with the audience about your major in college and what your career prior to this was all about.
Absolutely. So I've always had an interest. My first love was writing. Aside from music, it was writing. And so I went into journalism, and UNLV has a wonderful journalism program, very, very good program. And so I went that route and I did that. My degree was in broadcast journalism with a minor in film. I do have a background in film, TV, music, all of that, from behind the scenes to on the camera and things like that. So it was just going into news and my passion for writing and all of that. It was just kind of that was my route. That was my path. And, as you learn more about yourself, you see that you're just always evolving. And so my passions at the time, Guy, you can even attest to this. I used to love to talk about politics and to really dig deep into that and kind of this side of the coin, that side of the coin, and just keep going. But I quickly realized once I entered the industry and I was, actually working in the field after college, I quickly realized that is something that is going to be a continuous conversation, whether it's an evolved conversation or literally the same exact conversation. And you come to a point where, you change with all of that. And so I did. And I used to joke in my first news market in Yuma, Arizona. I was at KYMA over there. And I used to joke about it in the newsroom. Hey, if there's ever a story about a cat stuck in the tree, I'm your reporter. Like that was, because I wanted news can be a lot. News can be very heavy, whether it is political, whether it is business, whether it is housing, but more so when it's crime, when it's tragic, when so many lives are changed forever, and sometimes not in the best way. And so being in news, you're the one delivering that information all the time. And, it just, I'm such a, like I lead with my heart on my sleeve. So for me, I mean, I've cried with people I'm interviewing, after something tragic. I've felt, so much of their pain. I won't say I've felt all their pain because you never know what somebody's going through, right? But like just having those conversations with them, I've cried with them, I've hugged them, and you get to a point where it's like, I want to put some good out there. I want to put some happiness out there. I want to make people smile. And so that's kind of where my whole, if there's ever a story about a cat stuck in the tree and, the firemen are getting the cat down and everybody's happy and they save the day. Like I would want that story just because I want to put that smile on someone's face. And so it was a lot, your first market in the news industry is very, very different than what you go to school for. There was a lot of, it was very, very stressful, high stress level, but it was also very rewarding because when you did have those huge stories, those big stories, that impacted so many people or impacted a family who may have just lost someone or, anything like that, major issues, Yuma is really, really close to the border. It's literally in the backyard. And so those stories, especially, it's even present day, it's such a big deal, maybe even more so now than it was then, and so it's impactful and it's, it's work that you're proud to do. You're happy to be a part of informing people of, hey, this is what is going on in your world right now, and it's, you give them the information and they are supposed to be able to take, whatever angle they want from it. And that's what I truly, and I don't know, you probably remember this about me, Guy, but like, I've always been very big about like giving you the information and you as the viewer, as the person watching the news, you make what you will of it. It's not my job to tell you what to think or how to dissect it. It's just my job to deliver the message. And so, yes, it is rewarding to be able to, be a medium to that, to be a middleman to that, middle person to that. But I just want to do more of the different things. Like I started to get into, weather. I started to get into entertainment reporting. I started to do all kinds of things. And I even went off the camera for quite some time. I'm like, currently I'm not on camera. And I went back and forth. I was reporting, and then I was anchoring and producing. And then I went to only producing. I was not on air. And then that was for about a year and a half. And then I went back on air for probably a few months. And then I went back off air. And so it just depends. Now I'm still in the news world. You can't stop a writer from writing, right? And no matter how much, I tell myself, like, I don't want to talk about, like, murders and crimes and all this anymore. But it's like, once a journalist, always a journalist. You're always going to have that in you to want to write and to want to deliver the message and, just inform. And so I kind of, I'm doing both right now, and so I am still writing. I am still in the news industry. But I did take some time because of kind of my perspective on everything and kind of just how I've evolved and how I've changed. I did go into electrolysis hair removal, and it's very, very rewarding. I've already had some clients where I'm super excited for them and their progress. And it's just something for me. It's mine that I can build however I want to. And I feel like that is so important for me. And I feel like for many people. And if you have the opportunity to do it, then, by all means, please do, because you learn so much more about yourself. You don't know what you can do until you push yourself more. And so, while I thought I was really, really pushing myself in college, when you and I met, Guy, now looking back over these 5-6 years or so, I'm just like, wow. Like, I thought I was in way over my head then, and I got through it. And then I went farther and farther and farther. And it's been an uphill battle. It's not easy by any means, to go into a career and then to go and decide, what, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want my own business. I want to do this instead, like a totally different field.
Mm-hmm.
I surprise myself. I surprise myself all the time, but I think it's really just, you don't know until you go through it. And then once you go through it, you're like, oh, that was it. Okay. But you don't know that in the present moment. And so, I look around and I'm just like, I did this for myself. And so, it is still a growing business, and I'm just excited to see where it's going to go.
Yeah, several times, Arlette, you mentioned evolution and how you grow and you change as a person, which is completely natural for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
It's like going to the buffet. I can kind of equate what you were saying to going to the buffet. And you go to the buffet, and there's, pans and pans of food for you to choose from at the buffet. And there are going to be some pans that you dip things out of and you put on your plate and you eat. And then sometimes you'll try something, you dip it, you put on your plate, and you decide, whoa, I don't really like this. So I'm not going to, I know that's a very simplistic sort of analysis, but I have found that throughout my own life. And I've heard that from a lot of people, is that you have to try things. And in order to evolve and to ultimately arrive at the thing that you truly believe in, the thing that brings you joy, sometimes that means you have to try a lot of other things before you get there. And so the question that I had for you is, are there any things that you learned specifically being a journalist that you feel are helping you as a new entrepreneur?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Things change at a moment's notice, sometimes without even a notice. On a simplified scale, your story could be this today, and then maybe 2 hours before it's supposed to air, nope, you got to go shift gears, go do this whole other story, and you're just going. And so things can change that quickly in journalism, and it can change that quickly in your life, and to learn that was just the way that it applied was just very, it stood out to me. It really did stand out to me. And I think it's also just being okay with change and just going with it, even if it's uncomfortable. Change is practically always uncomfortable, but just go through the motions. Just take that next step. That's all you have to worry about. Take that next step. And then the rest of it tends to reveal itself, work itself out as you go. So that was absolutely something I learned with journalism, with broadcast journalism, more specifically. Another thing is too, in journalism, you're doing stories on everything. I didn't have a specific beat per se. There were times where I was on specific sort of beats. Like one of my colleagues before had called me the fire chaser, because all of a sudden I was doing all the, fire stories. Prior to that, it was, if it was a border story, okay, Arlette, go do the border story. Like that was just what it was. And political things, Yuma especially is, even though it is a very small place, it's actually very huge in its contribution to the country, and beyond the country, honestly. Agriculture for one, but all the political things as well. I mean, it's huge, again, because the border is literally right there. And so for quite a while, it was like, okay, we're getting a federal visit from so and so, Arlette, go do this. So it just, even though I wasn't on a beat, I kind of would rotate beats, if you will. And so learning so many different professions, learning so many different aspects of this world that we live in, learning so many different, things of what you're focused on in your position, what the next person is focused on in their position. Just that rounded kind of knowledge. And I've always said this about myself, like I have some knowledge of things for absolutely no reason. Like I never searched it. I never opened a book to learn about it or anything, but for some reason I know some of these things. Well, going into news, that became even more the case, because I was meeting all of these different people from all different walks of life, from, people who were making laws to people impacted by those laws, everything in between. And so, yeah, you learn so much more, and you realize how much more is out there. And so taking that from journalism, it's just made me more of a, I guess you could say, aware person of, everyone's different kinds of lives and what their day-to-day might be,
Right. Yeah. And I think that that's very important when you're talking about entrepreneurship, Arlette, is that you've got customers, you have partners potentially that you work with. So the people skills, I know where you've been talking about these journalistic experiences that you had, it's the connection with people, and business is so much about that, because in the business that you're in, ultimately you have to figure out how to make connections with clients, to get them to trust you. And so that same empathy that you were talking about, that you a lot of times showered on people when you would arrive at crime scenes or, difficult circumstances as a journalist, when you start working with clients, I mean, boy, they're human. They've all got all the same things going on in their lives that you have on, the ups and downs, the peaks and valleys of life, and your ability to be able to connect with people and to show that empathy, from my experience, will also help you a great deal in business.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. And I think with electrolysis hair removal in particular, for me, and I'm not embarrassed to say this at all, I was a client first. I had been a client of this industry for a long time. And so now when I have clients and we are starting to see progress, because it's not a one and done thing, it's a series of sessions, right? Once we both start recognizing and seeing, the difference in whatever area we're working on, like I feel sometimes I get more excited than them, because I'm like, oh my God, like I got to help them with this. And like, being that I was a client of this before, like I know that feeling of comfort and confidence, and what it does to your self-esteem in a good way, And so like, now that I'm able to, be a part of that for somebody else, like it's the coolest thing.
Yeah, I could imagine. Will, in terms of electrolysis, so you had mentioned before that I guess one of the reasons why you got into this business was the sense of satisfaction that you got from being a client.
Mm-hmm.
And at what point did you decide that this is something that you would want to actually do as a business?
So the thought had been there kind of here and there, but it was never a serious thought. when it became a serious thought, it was, I'm going to be very open and honest. It was when I was at my burnout with news. I was at my burnout with news and the heaviness of it and the constant go, 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 and I was just like, okay, something's got to give. The news industry is, people see it one way. And Guy, I don't even have to tell you this, for sure, but people see it one way, but it's really not just, what you see on air. It's not just what you see on the camera. And so there are so many parts that go into that. And at the time when that decision happened for me, I was only producing. So it wasn't even a time when I was on air. I was just, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm switching gears. And one thing that used to kind of, I can be very hard on myself and I can be very strict with things. So like the thought of, hey, I went to school for journalism. I need to see this through. This is my career. This is what I'm doing, Well, who says? Why is that the rule? Why is that the rule? Why can't you go do something else? Because you paid student loans for it and you spent all that time doing it and you put so much into it. Okay. And that's valid. That's valuable. That's important. But why can't you do something else? And so when I had that burnout in the news industry, that's when I said, I need to do something for me that's going to allow me to live my life the way that I want to. And so this business in a roundabout way is rewarding on many, many levels. It's not just the fulfilling feeling of having my own business, the fulfilling feeling of, helping people achieve their goals with things that are usually uncomfortable. It's usually a self-esteem thing. Like I said, it's usually a confidence thing, a confidence hindering thing, when you're worried about, hair where, you feel embarrassed about, so I get to help people overcome that. So that's rewarding too. But also for me, having your own business, once you get to a certain point with it, you're giving yourself your time back. You're spending things in life, and it's those things that you're spending. It's your time. It's, your energy. It's your happiness. You're spending these things. And so if I were to continue in any job, we'll just say any 40-hour job for me, it would have been, that is what I'm trading my time for. That's what I'm trading. Like I'm making a living trading my time in that way. Right. And that's okay if you do. Like there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I just want to clarify. But like for me, because of my burnout, I was just like, I can't spend my day doing this. I don't really see myself going into another field where I am just working for someone. So that was just kind of my realization moment. And so that's when it came back to electrolysis. And so I'm buying my time back essentially. And so once, a business gets to a certain point, maybe you don't need to be there constantly. Maybe you don't need to be there 60 and 80 hours a week because, entrepreneurship, it's not 40 hours, it's well beyond that. Right. But once you achieve certain levels of it, you're buying yourself that time back. So then maybe I will be able to, do the other things that I still do absolutely love about, writing, about being on air, about all of those things. So like I have other things that I want to do, and electrolysis is, the segue to allow me to do those things because I'm buying my time back and I would be able to do those things,
Mm-hmm. What has surprised you the most so far as an entrepreneur? What have you experienced that you didn't expect to experience when you went into business?
Oh, wow. There's a lot. I knew there was a lot that goes into it because, my dad is the kind of person who, for the most part, he's owned his own business. He has worked for other people, other companies, but for the most part, it's always been his own business, but different kinds of businesses, right? So I've always seen it, always been around it, but going into it myself and doing it, there were things, and this is a different industry. So there were things that I just didn't know and I didn't know how to navigate. And so even just something as simple as getting the proper certification for whatever you're going into, getting the proper licensing for whatever you're going into. And then you have to look at the state, and then you have to look at the county, and then you have to make sure you have, you know, liability insurance, you know, and it's not a straightforward thing. It's not a, you know, Google how to do this and here are your answers. Yes, you can Google it and you can have some answers, but actually navigating it is a totally different thing. Do I need a fictitious name? Do I not? What does that mean? You know, just those questions that sound simple, but you have to actually like learn and understand them. Am I going to open an LLC? Am I going to open an S Corp? Am I going to be an independent contractor? You know, deciding those things and what's better for you and your business, and then navigating that. Those were things that were more challenging than I thought they would be. For myself, it was more so that I'm very, if somebody needs help with something, especially if it's like figuring something out or paperwork or legal stuff or whatever, like my family comes to me all the time. So like I'm pretty good at that stuff, but this was totally different. Like I, you know, was starting to look into having somebody else do it for me because it was a lot. And so I didn't expect that. So, and then, you know, aside from that, just the little things like getting it ready, you know, I wanted to paint in here. It was so like important to me because it was such a, like, I was so excited and I was like, I want my business, my place to look, you know, the way I want it to. I want it to be a reflection of me and the things that I love. You know, these are colors that I love. It's the mood that I love, you know, and like, it's your personality. And so I was just so set on doing that. At the time and, you know, with my family and stuff, we had a lot of things coming up. And so my sister's like, get over it, leave the walls, you know, beige or white, whatever color they are, and just, you know, start moving your stuff in and get going. And I'm like, no, I want to paint, you know? So even just those things of like, I did this for myself and this is kind of a reward to myself to be able to paint my own place. And she's like, just hire somebody, they'll get it done in 2 hours. And I'm like, that's fine. I totally could. But like, I want that, you know, that action of like, look at, I'm doing this for me. I'm painting my place that I made possible. Like, so it was a very, I don't know, it was a proud moment for me. And like, just a proud moment, but like, it was also like, you could have worked a little bit smarter and just hired somebody and it'd have been done in 2 hours and you could have moved on and started, you know, but yeah, it was just that for me. So learning those things like of like, I thought painting would take me, you know, really quick, maybe a day or two, whatever. No, it did not.
Yeah, I hear you sharing a lot about the pride of ownership, Arlette. And as an entrepreneur, I understand that the sense of, you talked about that you're building something for you and that you're behind the wheel, right? Entrepreneurs generally like being behind the wheel of the, right? Rather than riding in the bus, they want to be behind the wheel of the bus because they have a vision of where they feel that they can take their entrepreneurial idea. So one of my last questions for you is, where do you envision your business in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, no, I don't think I know. Okay. So I want to have, you know, enough of a clientele that I can then hire on more electrologists. So that you know, if you're a client of Naked Beauty Electrolysis, you're not only going to see me. You may see another electrologist, you know, who's very skilled and knowledgeable and knows how to help you with hair removal. And that would be the ideal thing, to have, you know, a bigger space at that point and have, you know, other electrologists, and to be able to take on more clients and, you know, just be very successful in doing that. And just seeing that process with more people of like, once you get to the point of, you know, you've had so many sessions and then you see that progress. So that's kind of where I see myself in, you know, even in a year, in less than a year. And I'm working diligently to do that in so many ways. And there's so much more behind the scenes about it. I mean, advertising is very huge. Social media is very huge. Word of mouth is huge. And so, I would like to get to a point where, I'm doing all that legwork now, but I want it to be to where it's like, it's a moving locomotive on its own already, because it's already had that traction,
Absolutely. And you're laying the great foundation, Arlette, where you talk about at the beginning when you're just getting a business started, the investment that you're really laying the foundation of like your entrepreneurial habits at the beginning through the commitment, right? The commitment to, you know what, I got a vision. I'm painting the walls in my place. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to look for clients. And all of this is just sharpens your entrepreneurial skill sets. And what I know you're going to see as you go along, Arlette, is that you will just become more and more astute as an entrepreneur. The more situations you experience, you just get sharper and sharper, just like being a journalist. I mean, you've had that same experience when you first got your first true journalistic job. You knew certain things, but as you went out there and you kept being on air all the time and you kept writing and you kept covering stories, you get more astute. And that's what happens from my experience in entrepreneurship, is that you just get sharper and sharper and sharper at it with the experiences that you have, and you become a better provider for your clients. Ultimately, that's what keeps you in business, is that you become someone that people want to bring their business to because you're so good at what you do and you create a great experience for them. And so, yeah, I see nothing but a great future for you, Arlette. You're definitely coming into it with the right frame of mind, I feel.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And with you and your entrepreneurship that I've witnessed myself for years, I've seen you hustling. I've seen you, talking to this person, networking, talking to the next person, bump in the road. Okay, let's detour. I've seen you do all of this. And it's just been so, like, it shows me that, hey, my friend Guy is doing this and he's diligent and he's working his butt off, I can also do this. It's not as scary. It's still scary, but it's not as scary because I see you doing it. And so it is important to have that kind of environment around you, to have those people to draw from, and whether it's just having them, where you can just call and vent, which thank you for ever taking my calls anytime to vent. But also just that guidance of like, hey, I know it's a hard moment right now, but it's just, bump in the road and keep moving. And that's a lot of what I have seen from you, just watching your experiences and your successes, and just kind of learning from you and incorporating not only that, but other people, other close friends that I have that are on a similar path, of their own business or their own, anything. Like it's learning from all of you that is just really, I'm just grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. An entrepreneurial spirit is it's probably 90% of it is just not giving up, Arlette. That's been my experience. If you just don't give up, you're going to experience all different types of emotions, and you're going to have money, you won't have money, business will be rolling, and then it won't be rolling. But when you're very committed and you have made a decision that you are going to stick with what you've pursued, you become unstoppable as an entrepreneur. And for our audience out there, I want them to break your doors down, coming to receive some of your outstanding electrolysis. How can they connect with you if they want a session?
Okay, perfect. So I do have my website. It's nakedbeautyelectrolysis.com. I'm on all the major social media platforms, same name, Naked Beauty Electrolysis. Instagram, first and foremost, Facebook, X, TikTok. You can find me on Yelp. You can find me on some other directories, Google, of course. And I'm actually in the Silverado Ranch area in Las Vegas. So like literally just up the street from South Point Casino. If you've heard of Phoenix Salon Suites, it's one of those salon suites where they have a lot of different businesses inside. I'm right inside the Phoenix Salon Suites in Silverado Ranch. And so you can always book online with me. I always offer and require a consultation, and it's totally free. So if you're just curious and you don't know what electrolysis is and you just want to chat, give me a call, send me a message. I'm always available to answer that. And I really like that education part of it. So like I'm more than happy to answer your questions about electrolysis and how it can help you. So you can find me on social media and really just a simple search online.
My good friend Arlette Yousif is the owner of Naked Beauty Electrolysis. And again, Arlette, I wish you nothing but success in this newest endeavor that you have. I know that you will absolutely be committed to it. And as I mentioned before, as long as you stay committed, I see your visions of what your business will become absolutely coming true.
Thank you, Guy. I really appreciate it. And thank you for having me on your show.
All right. And we appreciate all of you for tuning into the PR Connections show here at prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. Please visit our website, prconnectionsradio.com, to watch a host of shows that we have on our network. We're constantly adding new shows. We've got 3 or 4 new ones in the works, by the way. So if you go over to prconnectionsradio.com, you will see the variety of content that we are developing. Also want to let you all know that you can listen to this podcast at Spotify and a host of other streaming platforms, Apple Podcast, Amazon Business, and other. So take advantage of these opportunities to tune into our shows. If we know some people like to listen, some people like to watch. Of course, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, and all the other streaming social media sites that there are out there. So anyway, we will be back soon with another show. Hope you have a fantastic day. Tune in to our network, prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. Take care of yourselves.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.